Hello, hello, hello. All right. Um, Realizing it's quite late today, and I think everybody probably is Thursday, and afterwards I think there's one more session, yeah. Um, so I will try to stick to the time and not keep you busy for too long. So my talk today is about the importance of crypto values. Values not in the sense that you make cash because you jump on the recent hottest mint, but values in the original sense, like what got us in this place. So maybe a little bit of a background. Check where I have to click. Okay, a little bit of background on me. My name is Chris. You see me there with my alter ego, which you would find on LinkedIn or Twitter, this beautiful buckethead burp. I am COO at DevelopX, which is a professional services company. We have around 200 employees. We provide consulting services in the field of digitization and digital product building and software engineering services, both for Web 2 but also Web 3 related products. A part of that, I'm a pretty firm believer in crypto native values and that this decentralization idea is actually quite good for us. I also a member at CaesarDAO, which is dedicated to collect items from the 6529 ecosystem and to spread the message of an open metaverse. So let's dive into it. I think most of us will still remember September 15th, 2008, Lehman Brothers filed bankruptcy. So why does this happen, or what were kind of the main causes this happened? It was greed, so something like what humans do, right? If they see money, they take money. So they put all into subprime assets, of course leveraged, right? Then it was a lack of regulation, so the actual debt to equity ratio was quite poor, and following the downturn of Lehman, there was a whole lot of regulation on how debt to equity ratios should look like for financial institutions. And I would not be wondering if we would see the same happening for centralized exchanges in the future. And last not least, centralization, right? So it was quite a big of a bank that failed, and ultimately it were more than 600 billion in assets that were affected by the bankruptcy. Now, what happens next? Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper a couple months after this happened. And the idea, or one quote, which I think is a bit of inspiring, is, "We have proposed a system for electronic transactions without relying on trust." So let that think in, right? So previously, we always had to have a third party that we have to trust, and third parties lead to centralization. Centralization can lead to quite big of chunks at risk, and now here comes Bitcoin and blockchain technology and answers like these failing of the financial institutions by technology, which is beautiful in itself. And basically it's completely opposing to what we've had before. So we have a fixed supply of money in the case of Bitcoin versus infinite money printing, which actually got us pretty much in trouble right now, as you all know. We have a trustless system instead of a system that relies on third parties, right? Trusting our assets. We have anonymity versus KYC and AML regulations. We have self-custody. I think everybody has witnessed the FTX disaster and the disasters beforehand, or has lost money at some point instead of custodians. And we have decentralization versus centralization. I will put this last because I think it's also like the one common denominator, right, that drives all of the other specifications. So fast forward, now this was like 2009, and now we are 2022, December 2022. We basically all are convinced that eventually everything can and will be tokenized. So on the one hand side, we have material assets. on the other hand side, we have immaterial assets. We have both fungible, non-fungible, and basically everything on the right-hand side can be represented and will be represented with tokens at some point. I'm pretty convinced it is going to happen. So how to navigate now these new world, this new space? What are kind of the rules or the values that can guide us there? And I think it's quite interesting because actually these new technology kind of spawned a new set of values or beliefs or things that people value. And it's self-custody. So yeah, I mean, a lot of us probably use a hardware wallet and are happy to have access to all of our funds immediately. It is also CC0, right? CC0 is the complete opposite of the IP and centralized gameplay. It is data privacy, which is very important for us and which is a huge value. It is also censorship resistance, right? So if I have a decentralized system, it's way less prone to be censored by a single entity. And it's also the alignment of consumer and creator interests by cutting out third parties and enabling new ways of connecting, right? So let's dig into it a little bit, right? Self-custody. You might recognize this beautiful tab on the left-hand side, right? That basically stores 16 billions and only to receive a puff piece by the New York Times. So, I mean, self-custody, the revenues of Ledger and Trezor, they were like skyrocketing. So were the revenues generated by DeFi protocols such as Uniswap. No surprise there. However, we had it beforehand, right? It is still not super easy to do it, right? There are risks. You have to put your seed phrase somewhere. You have to be able to use MetaMask. You can, if you put in the wrong address and send money there, you are fucked, right? So in the end, it is not easy yet. However, driving a car is also not easy. It requires training, it requires education, it requires practice, and yet everybody does it, right? And it's only necessary to drive around in a car and not to like manage your funds. So I think eventually with better UI, better technology, we will get there. And this is, I mean, this is the optimist speaking me, that we will have more and more people being able to have self-custody and to be responsible with their funds. We have, we have CC0. Many called it like CC0 Summer. We have this beautiful artwork on the right-hand side by Tommy Wilson. You might recognize a couple of the collections there. Most controversial, probably Moonbirds, and also quite notably Xcopy put all their knowledge and all their, not all their knowledge, all their IP in the public domain. What is the take here? Why is this relevant? So beforehand, we had actually always big companies, like Disney has Mickey Mouse and it's IP, and only Disney is allowed to make merchandise with Mickey Mouse on it. Now, actually it expires in 2 years and then this will be gone. And actually, when we are in a world where we have digital assets everywhere, people copy everything anyway, right? And it's just another take. I'm not saying BAYC IP play isn't powerful and Doodles is doing the same, right? But I think there's quite a good narrative and there's a chance also for these IP rights that are in the public domain then that everybody can use, that others can build upon it, and that then more value is accrued to the original piece. In the same way, like Rolex Submariner has been copied a million times, right? Still, people go to Rolex and buy the Submariner because they see it everywhere, and it just increases the value of the original piece, and it's always trackable there. We have data privacy. I mean, just before like 20, 30 years ago, it was just normal that I can go somewhere and buy something and don't have to show my ID, right? Just today we are talking about upper limit for cash purchases within the European Union of 10,000 euro. And we have a Minister of Inner Affairs who's actually proposing even lower limits. I mean, I am aware there is shit happening with cash, right? But it is just prone to abuse, right? We are in a happy situation where we have not been victim to that, but if you would be in some of the African countries, in Myanmar, what's happening there? They are restricting access to cash. They have your KYC for everything. They freeze your bank accounts, and then you are done, right? So I think it's very important, and I'm also, I mean, we have OFAC seen sanctioning the Tornado Cash Protocol, which is ridiculous, right? We have SBF walking around in shorts on the Bahamas. He stole 16 billions. And we have a developer who wrote the protocol that allows you to transact anonymously that is in jail for half a year now. I mean, I think you get the idea, right? So we have censorship resistance. Just two prominent examples that I think most of you will have witnessed. Twitter files, it is quite disturbing, to be honest, to see afterwards what they did and what the Democratic Party in this case did to prevent certain narratives to be told via the platform, and they just censored it. And I'm not even pro-Trump or Democrats or Republicans. I don't mind, right? It's just not right that whether some news get out or not depends on who is in charge of a platform and who is the party being in charge, right? So that just doesn't make sense, and it's super prone to abuse, especially if we come to a world where we will have more and more centralized power, also supported by AI, right? So I don't feel safe then, what I'm being told, that it's really all the truth and that not something has been hidden beforehand, right? And I think blockchain technology also provides a solution for that by having a distributed ledger that is trusted by everybody. And then alignment of consumer and creator interests. I think this is more or less a no-brainer, right? We have a lot of applications, be it around personal data, so you can go to another browser that protects that. We have all media, what is created there. And we have all social data. I think for a lot of applications, there will be better decentralized alternatives that also like value these values. Because with Web 2, essentially accelerated all this centralization, right? And a lot of companies made a shit ton of money by using all the data from you, actually, right? So what is what is a good proxy, or how to like bring this into numbers? I think Google Trends is always quite nice, and it is good to see that the interest in decentralization on the query, what is decentralization, actually quadrupled in the last like 24 months or so. So it's basically 100 is the top, and when you see like before 2020 or so, it's around the 25-point mark. So this is good. This means like awareness is being spread and people have more interest in it. And this is kind of my hot take, or when I think about it, when I also have maybe wishful thinking. Decentralization will be for the 2020s what sustainability was for the 2010s, right? And what do I mean by that? It is that people will be willing to accept certain inconvenience. They will be willing to pay more if they have a decentralized alternative. It will not just be, oh, this product has a better UI or this product is cheaper, right? When you go to the grocery store, you will buy something because it's local, it's sustainable, it's from the farm nearby, right? And you are willing to pay a premium. And I hope, I like fight for it, that more and more people will become aware of that and are willing to do so. And I think it will be a quite powerful narrative for the years ahead, that we have a strong decentralized economy that like opposes and is a counterweight to all the centralization that is happening. And both Web2 as well as crypto native companies will have to honor these values if they don't want to fall behind. Not every value, yeah, that can still be IP companies, of course, right? But I think it's good to be aware of these values that like brought us probably here in the first place, and that should be held high in the future. How does this relate to open metaverse from my point of view? So I think I have been in a discussion yesterday, and it was a bit confusing what is metaverse, so I just very quick recap. I think there are probably a lot of frameworks. Every framework is wrong, some are useful, right? So the one that I would just refer to, the metaverse, for me, or the framework I would use is the internet. There will be in the future no distinction between metaverse and internet. It will just be the internet or the metaverse with better visualization, right? AR, VR, mixed reality, and so on, and persistent digital objects that are recorded on the blockchain, right? And what would it take to have an open metaverse instead of a closed metaverse? An open metaverse would be characterized by being built on decentralized technology instead of centralized technology, right? And honoring crypto values. So two examples. I could have a metaverse where a centralized entity is taking a 30% cut on every transaction, where internal marketplace exists where I can trade my assets that is controlled by a central entity, and so on. It can have very beautiful graphic, can discuss whether it makes sense or not. While on the other hand side, decentralized and open metaverse would be a place where everybody's equal. We have no like centralized entities that are gatekeeping. We have the freedom to move our assets, to transact with them, to take them from one open metaverse to another open metaverse. And I think this would be a future where I would be excited about, right? That makes something from the blockchain technology which is better than what we have right now. TLDR, the summary. Blockchain technology spawned crypto values. Quite interesting. We have technology and then values, not vice versa. The interest in decentralization has quadrupled over the last 24 months. This will impact consumer behavior, I hope, I really hope. Decentralization will be for the 2020s what sustainability was for the 2010s. Crypto natives, at least me, will be launching for an open metaverse. And in case you would like to learn more, I would like to point you to 6529.io. A lot of the artwork I've used in the presentation is, of course, CC0. You will find the collections also on that site and the according OpenSea links. And bankless.com, the podcast for all things DeFi, helping you to go on the journey to become bankless. And I'm not sponsored by them, of course, right? Thanks.